Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. My name is Blackjack. Welcome back to the channel. As always, today I will be doing a deck tech for you guys. This week, Monday and Thursday, we are going to be dipping our toes into CEDH competitive Elven Dragon Highlander. So today I'm going to be showing you Tymna Kraum, which was my main deck in my first deck. And on Thursday, I'll be showing the deck that I have now built and am currently going to start playing. I don't claim to be an expert on CDH. I did not come up with these ideas on my own. These deck lists and these ideas have been around the internet for, a few years. They're tournament winning lists. I've tweaked them in ways that I personally like. So I'll be going over all of my choices and the variety sometimes that the decks can play. But if you're interested in having me put a deck together for you, CDH or not, in the comments down below, I'm looking for any of the following metrics. As always, your bracket, your commander, your theme, your budget, and any pet cards. Send that down below and I'd be happy to make a video about your deck for you. So today, Tymna Kraum, obviously after the bannings of Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Crypt, I would say this deck has gotten worse, but is still performing just as good, if not continuing to perform as the best deck in CDH. I think that those three cards would make it even better and would continue to keep it on the top of the meta, in my opinion. And even without, it's still great, but RIP, those three are sadly missed. So Tymna Kraum, obviously this is sans green. We have access to every color but green. The idea of CDH is to win as fast as you can. You can play as many tutors as you want, as much fast mana as you want. There's essentially no rules. There's no bracket conversations to have when you sit down. It is just try to go as fast as you can. Don't worry about anybody else. There is a lot of politics involved in CDH when you play at the tournament level. I have never played in a tournament for CDH before. I've just played with a personal friend group, which is, again, why I claim that I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form. This is a culmination of many Tymna Kraum decks that I've found online and slowly picked certain cards that I really liked or didn't like and cut or added them. So, for the creatures, one thing that I've found playing Tymna Kraum is I want pretty much all of my creatures to be at the 2 mana slot, so that way I can always get them on turn 2, followed up by casting Tymna and attacking and drawing a card every single time on turn 3. So the worst possible game plan that I'm willing to have a hand that I keep with is always going to be have a turn 2 play, a creature, and then followed up with a Tymna and draw a card off of it. If that is your worst game plan, then you're obviously going in the right direction and you're playing a very powerful deck. But there are a lot of people who play things like Professional Facebreaker. And the card is good. The reason that, again, I don't choose it is when I had played this deck, I never found an appropriate time to cast it because anytime I had access to 3 mana, I would prefer to cast Tymna and draw cards. Obviously, you're always having that dichotomy of card draw versus ramp. You're trying to do your best to maintain both things, and I would always prefer card draw. I think in a world where we get Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, Dockside back, decks like this would change a lot. You no longer would have a need for something like Professional Facebreaker, because as of right now, Kraum is really just here for the colors. 5 mana is not necessarily hard to get to, but if you ever do have 5 mana, there's stuff that you'd much rather be doing, like casting Ad Nauseam. So the philosophy was all of my creatures should be 2 mana or less, unless they are essentially winning the game or putting me in a position to win the game. So you have Archivist of Ogma for card draw, Dranith Magistrate, just a really, really good card in pretty much every white deck that is in CDH right now. Esper Sentinel, great value card. And then, again, just more of these 2 mana value pieces. Fairy Mastermind, Ledger Shredder, Lotho, Polywog Prodigy, Voice of Victory. This has a dual purpose of being our second, our third, our fourth silence / Grand Abolisher effect. So one of the best parts about playing this deck, in fact, where is my Grand Abolisher? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm not used to this art. Having these cards that silence your opponent, so you can basically, you're the only one allowed to operate on your turn, is what makes playing white so powerful. I think, obviously, if you're playing your shell of Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation, being able to back that up with counterspells is always good, but being able to back that up with a silence effect, like what these are doing, makes it unstoppable. So it's more of a guaranteed win instead of just trying to go for it. Mockingbird has gotten a lot of value for me since I've started playing it. I really enjoy having access to it, being able to just copy any creature on the battlefield. Obviously, when you're playing CDH, everybody's creatures are very, very good, so you're happy almost every time to draw this. And then Valley Floodcaller. So this is a bit newer, and along with Born Upon a Wind, these are 2 spells that essentially let you win the game at instant speed. So CDH has been kind of going through a few different turning points and a few different meta shifts, where at first it was Necropotence with the Esper Commander Zur. You know, years and years back, you would just play Zur, you'd attack, you'd get Necropotence, you'd draw a truckload of cards, and then you'd try to combo off. And Necropotence is still a good card, but nowadays some people are trying to win the game on the stack. So if a player before me attempts to combo out and win the game and they get interacted with, there's a world where you can then, with Valley Floodcaller or with Born Upon to Win, actually give your spells flash and then try to win on top of that stack after the rest of the table has exhausted all of their resources. So that is what I'm personally seeing when I'm looking at coverage and when I'm looking at CDH deck lists, is a lot of people are preferential to winning at instant speed right now. But obviously your bread and butter combo is always going to be Thassa's Oracle and then Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact, and that just wins the game every time. Very clean, very easy. Sorceries, there's not a ton that is going to wow you here. Obviously, we just have a bunch of tutors. We have Sevinne's Reclamation, which is a part of our other combo package. We have Rite of Flame for extra mana, just like Simian Spirit Guide. And then Instance, this is kind of where the meat is in CDH. Ad Nauseam is a amazing card. It's essentially a 1-card win condition. If you can cast this early in the game, turn 2, turn 3, and draw 25, 30 cards, you should be in a position to close the game out. So a lot of people are going to fight you over this, and it's not something you normally just want to haphazardly cast, but you want to play at an opportune time where you think it's going to resolve or you think you can protect it. We have a massive counterspell suite. Offer, Fierce Guardianship, Flusterstorm, Misstep, Mindbreak Trap, Swan Song, Pyroblast, Pact of Negation, Force of Negation, Force of Will. Again, I mean, Deflecting Swat kind of as well. This is no holds bars. This is bracket 5. Play everything you can, as powerful as you can. So these are all to either stop someone from winning the game or protect your own win condition. The combo I mentioned with Sevinne's Reclamation. So recently, Gifts Ungiven was unbanned, so we have access to Gifts Ungiven and Intuition. so we can find piles that win us the game, but they go hand in hand with Brain Freeze, Underworld Breach, and then where is my Lion's Eye Diamond? There it is. So you don't necessarily need Lion's Eye Diamond. You can use something like Lotus Petal to get the job done if you had to. But essentially, you are going to find Gifts Ungiven or Intuition piles where you really don't care what you keep, because Savine's Reclamation is going to let you get stuff out of the graveyard. And then you are going to get Underworld Breach onto the battlefield. You are going to Brain Freeze yourself in order to mill a handful of cards. It might be 9, it might be 27, it might be somewhere in between. And then you are going to Lion's Eye Diamond out of your graveyard by escaping these cards. And you're going to continue to do that. You're going to use Lion's Eye Diamond to make mana, and then you are going to escape a couple cards to Brain Freeze yourself for increasingly more until your entire library is gone, and then you are going to use Underworld Breach to escape Thassa's Oracle and win the game that way. But pretty much all of the wins in this deck are dedicated on Thassa's Oracle. If somehow this does get exiled, you still can go the route of using Brain Freeze to actually mill out everyone else at the table. The only scary part there is, again, people can win at instant speed in their upkeep before they draw, and there might be a world where they have a shuffle effect, or they might have some sort of way to interact with you, so obviously you'd always prefer just for the Thassa's Oracle line. You have Cabal Ritual for mana, Chain of Vapor to bounce something, as well as into the Flood Maw, sometimes Cyclonic Rift. Sometimes there's things on the battlefield that you have to get rid of that keep you from comboing out. Might be a stacks piece, maybe there's a Blood Moon out that's locking you out of the game. Could be anything, and it's always good to have a few catch-all pieces, so that way you're never afraid of any permanent in particular. You know that somewhere in your deck you always have an answer. As far as more tutors, we have Enlightened Tutor. This used to 100% of the time find Mana Crypt or Rhystic Study. Nowadays it's pretty much just finding Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora, at least in my experience and the way that I like to play it. Dark Ritual, Demonic Consultation, and Tainted Pact. We already mentioned these guys. You're going to use them in conjunction with Thassa's Oracle to win the game. You have a few removal pieces like Path to Exile and Swords. And then again, something like Silence. Silence is great in order to push your win through and guarantee that it happens. So that way, instead of allowing the rest of the table to pick and choose when to fight you on your stack, Silence is the point of contention where they have to engage with you. Artifacts. So some lists play anywhere from like 8 all the way to like 16. I'm playing a pretty high number because there were a lot of games where I was finding Mox Opals not turned on, and I really enjoy getting ahead of the table in mana. So I'm playing Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Talisman as your 2 mana rocks. These are obviously the worst ones given the format. You're also looking at things like Kraum Mox, Mox Opal, Mox Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Mana Vault, Mox Amber, Soul Ring. So a bunch of 0 and 1 mana ramp in order to get you ahead of the table. Being able to accelerate a Kraum out early, or being able to get something like Ad Nauseam on the stack on turn 2, turn 3 is extremely powerful, and sometimes you're going to play against a table that's just not ready for it, and you're going to basically get free wins that way. The One Ring, synonymous with CEDH at this point. I think pretty much all decks play it. It's just great to have protection. It's an amazing card draw engine. Wishclaw is essentially another tutor. Most of the time you're only going to use this on the turn you plan to actually win the game, so you're not going to just play this out and immediately activate it, go find a Mystic Remora or a Rhystic Study, and then give it away and allow somebody else the chance to tutor and win the game. You should really only be using this once you've already assembled the other pieces you need. Finally, enchantments. Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study, big points of contention in CDH right now. People talking about Rhystic Study needs to be banned. I'm not sure that I'm ready to make a decision one way or the other, but I will agree in the fact that the format is completely warped around these two cards. It is mid-range hell. I just happen to be a huge fan of mid-range. Tymna Kraum is a big fan of mid-range, and my new CDH deck's a big fan of that as well. So if it goes back to combo heavy, or if there's unbannings, you know, Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, I might put this deck back together, but as of right now, I've just found it really difficult to be able to get Kraum out at all, and it feels like you're essentially just playing Tymna plus two other colors. Kraum used to be a pretty reliable engine that nowadays I'm casting in maybe like 10 to 15% of my games. But lands, if you're new to CDH, you definitely play a lot less than you do in regular Commander. Here I'm playing 28. It's essentially just all of the best come into play untapped lands you could possibly find. Gemstone Caverns is in every CDH deck. If you can find any way to mitigate being later in turn order when you're playing CDH, if you're in seat 3 or seat 4 especially versus seat 1 and seat 2, there's a massive impact on your win percentage statistically and your ability to kind of fight your way out because you're always behind everyone. So having like something like Gemstone Caverns can really help mitigate that feeling. Ancient Tomb's another one that goes in pretty much every CDH deck. Extra mana is always going to be worth that 2 life. Using your life as a resource here is just as important as it is everywhere else. Otawara is in every deck that I've seen that plays blue. Having a uncounterable way to interact with the board is very, very powerful. And then finally, Cavern of Souls. So this can name a variety of things, but what I will say is being able to get Grand Abolisher, Ranger Captain, or Voice of Victory out uncounterable feels amazing and pretty much locks the game out for you, because instead of putting the stack on your silence piece, you're making your silence piece uncounterable. So you're essentially negating everyone else from having an opportunity to interact with you when you decide to go for it. There's also a world where you can simply just name Thassa's Oracle and then go for one of your Tainted Pact or Consultation lines, but obviously they're still going to be able to fight you over those two things. So if you can, try to make one of your silencing effects uncounterable. But that's it. If you're interested in CDH, definitely give it a look, give it a try. It's very fun. It's a totally new take on Commander if you're not used to it, and just make sure that you communicate with your table that's what you want to do and that's what you're planning. Don't play this at a casual table. This is not what that's meant for. But I hope you enjoyed watching. In a couple days I'll show you the deck that I'm currently playing. Thank you so much for watching, and Godspeed.